The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
How would you like to share your military experience with me, Farron Dozier, retired Sergeant First Class, on Trench Talk? That's right, I'm looking for veterans, active members, family members, children of parents who serve, or if you have a resource that helps support veterans, contact me here, 323-215-5384, or visit www.trenchtalk.us and send me a message. And don't forget to go to facebook.com/Trench Talk US and like the page and listen to previous.
The views, comments, and opinions of the following.
Welcome to Trench Talk. I'm your host. I'm Farron, aka WDC, retired Sergeant First Class, United States Army. I want to thank you for this special episode of Trench Talk Original Series. I've been doing this conversation now since 2013, and I took a break a few years ago. If you've been catching me on my WDC radio show, the Sports Lounge Live, and now the Sports Collective TV. After I won Veteran of the Year for Fontana this year, it just triggered my mind to go back and revisit some of these veteran conversations, because a lot of these topics just get overlooked. And to me, that name veteran has been desensitized. And so when you think about veteran, there's so many, conversations that go along with that. But one thing that we forget is that veteran is a human being. He has family members. He has loved ones. And so I just feel it's important to keep this conversation, for our veterans to have a platform to come and share their stories, their experiences, their resources, what they're up to. Life after the military. This is my life after the military for myself, after serving 24 years, being medical retired from an episode of sickle cell trait exertion with rhabdomyolysis, depressed. And some of those VA programs that they have out there, they don't fit everybody. If you're not a square, then what do you do if you're a circle or a triangle or a rectangle? You don't fit in those programs. So I had to literally find my own way out from wanting to commit suicide and thinking that life was over. And I found radio. And this has been my way to deal with my own depression and anxiety and stress, my outlet. So I look forward to these days. I look forward to having people like Tony, who's going to share his story today, before, during, and after military service. So this is kind of how I kept my connection to the veteran community as a disabled veteran. And you see me on Sports Collective. I do that show. I lost a lot of interest in sports, and so that's my way of staying connected to being able to talk about sports and being in that atmosphere. So during depression, a lot of things get taken away for some people. A lot of interest gets lost, and those were one of mine. And so I do this show again for veterans. I found out that the power of sharing, man, is so important when you can relate to another person. It's not always you got to understand somebody, but if you could just relate and use your imagination, that furthers the conversation. Because if you try to understand me, and that's a lot of veterans, we say that the civilians don't understand us.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? But if you understand that if you relate to people or you relate to one another, you can use your imagination and you can be like, well, what would you do in that situation? Well, man, no wonder. I would probably feel that same way. That furthers the conversation than you listening to this person, this veteran, saying, I don't understand, and then that kills off the conversation. So for me, I learned that there is power in sharing, the relatedness, the connectedness of being human. We all have the same life experiences. We just respond to them differently. And so I want to thank you again. If you want to follow me, the Instagram is Trench Talk US. The website is trenchtalk.us. And again, this is one of my platforms that I use to share with the community, especially this one that's dedicated for my veterans. So if you checked out the social media, I've known this guy for a few years. We got a related connection in the car scene. So I own the 370Z, had the 350Z, had like 3 of those. I had a 280Z, and then I didn't like the 370 at first until I got rid of my 350 one year, and I was driving a Camry, and I was being responsible, and I seen this 370 pass me like a pearl white in the carpool lane, just fly by, and I was like, hey, that's kind of nice. Slam, lowered rims. I was like, wait a minute, I think I like that. And I kid you not, I had that Camry probably like 6-7 months. And I took it back to the dealership where I bought it. And it was like, I traded right in. It was like, give me one of those 370s. So I got that for myself as a retirement gift to myself before I got out of service. And was, like I said, joining a lot of car clubs, Empire Z, SoCal Z, met Christian. Yeah. I believe I met you through Christian, hanging out with him at an event.
He moved to
Oregon. Yeah.
Actually, not Portland. He's in...
where'd he go? Cause
I think it's another city that's up there.
What's crazy was I was driving to Fresno to my buddy's house to do a domino party.
Yeah.
And he was on the freeway.
Oh, really? Oh,
and that was the day he was moving.
Yeah.
Up north. Yeah.
I should have drove up there with him because, he's a young guy.
Yeah.
He has a good head on his shoulders, but, I definitely should have went with him just for that experience because, it would have been cool.
Yeah.
I've seen him grow up pretty much.
I know.
He's a lot younger than us, but he's a good kid.
He graduated college and all that. And
graduated.
Did his thing.
Yeah, he took that big step to change his life. He went from, living at home with his parents, and then he just decided, hey, I need to make this change.
Find my own way.
Yeah, and he did it.
So shouts out to Christian, for connecting us.
Yeah.
So Tony, introduce yourself, man, so we can get this conversation started.
So my name is Tony Anaya. I'm a veteran. I did about 8.5 years in the U.S. Army, and it was definitely a nice experience, for myself. Mm-hmm. Helped me grow as an individual.
Okay. We're going to find out how.
Yeah.
All right. So this first part, we're going to talk about before service. All right. So, who was Tony growing up, man, as a little guy?
Growing up, I grew up in San Bernardino. I was born and raised there. Single mom, she got remarried, later on when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. But, I still kept in contact with my dad. My dad's also a veteran. He's an Army vet.
Okay.
Combat veteran. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. And my grandfather is a combat veteran as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a third generation combat veteran, which is cool, But anyhow, back to my youth. I grew up in San Bernardino. Just try to do some, after school activities. Baseball. Dabble a little bit in like football.
Yeah.
Not too serious. But
not too serious in football.
Not too serious. I really had a passion for baseball. I'm not really into sports now, but as a youth, I was definitely into baseball.
Yeah.
But then just things changed. We moved and. To a better area, I would say.
Okay. And, because San Bernardino now has been kind of rough for a long time.
Yeah, man, it's definitely changed. It's crazy. When I drive through some old parts of town and I see how much it's changed. And it's kind of crazy. So, but it's a good life experience seeing how things change over time and all that.
So, did you play sports in high school or just
no?
Like
I didn't. Man, I was more of a partier. I used to go out with all the friends and drink and When you're not supposed to when you're in high school.
Yeah, in that age.
We got my son here, so I'll make sure don't follow my footsteps.
Too late.
But anyhow, that's pretty much what I did. Hung out with a lot of friends, do a lot of just stuff like that.
Okay. So what had you, join the military? Was it looking back at your father and your grandfather's military experience, or what was going on in your life that say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna pick up?
Well, me and one of my buddies, we were talking about it, and he decided to join the Marines, and I was going to join the Marines too. And when I went to meet the recruiter, I wanted to do something real high speed.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot the job at the time. It was kind of like security forces or something like that. I'm not sure what they have but anyhow. Talking to my dad, he was like, you should, maybe join the Army. And I thought about it. I was like, hey, if my dad was in the Army,
mm-hmm. my
grandfather was in the Army, why not do the same thing? Kind of keep that tradition alive.
Yeah.
And, hopefully my son might do that. Let's hope, But anyhow, that's how it started. So, I talked to the recruiter for the Army, and then I enlisted. I did the delayed entry program.
Okay. So you were still, 17?
17, correct. 17? Yeah.
Okay.
So
17,
yep.
High school, partying, and then...
I just kind of, had to change it up a little bit and get a little bit more serious, knowing the fact that, I'm going to, join the service and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
I felt a sense of pride already, so I started, training a little bit more and whatnot, and
So did you ever think about ROTC? Because I was never in the ROTC.
I didn't think about that. I would like maybe my son to maybe take that course. Do ROTC or whatnot. Kind of prepare himself a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But no, I didn't. I just enlisted and then active duty was with the 101st.
Don't go that far. Okay, you don't go that far. We don't go that far. We were talking about before. So your buddy, did your friend end up joining the Marines?
Or he did. Okay. Yeah. So we kind of started a trend because there was other guys that kind of followed our footsteps and decided to join and stuff like that. So which made them better people and whatnot. But that's what we did.
So what could you because we joined for various reasons as individuals. So what would you say your reason for joining the Army at the time at 17? What was your reason? Get out of the environment.
Get out of the environment. Find something that's going to be purposeful. Just do something adventurous. You know what I mean? Because civilian life is just very monotonous. Do the same thing, repetitive. You do the get up, go to work, come back. So I was kind of maybe seeking adventure. Is what I think I would say.
Okay, some adventure.
Yeah.
Was the ASVAB adventurous?
Not really, or the physical for that matter. But it was cool. I mean, I really enjoyed it, man. It was hard to let go, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I always regret it, but I got a family, so
yeah. So you go to this Army recruiter, and you say, "I want to join the Army." I got grandparents, and my dad was in the Army. What was that process like for you? Was your mom happy with it?
Yeah, she was happy. That I'm going to do something important. I think it kind of carried on the tradition for my family. Mm-hmm. So I think they felt prideful about it. I worked after high school for a short period of time.
Right.
And then it was like maybe a couple months, and then I shipped off to basic.
Okay.
So it was cool.
So we understand, going through basic training. What was your, first experience at the reception station? Was that a culture shock for you? I mean, this party guy.
I was trying to prepare myself, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And
how'd
physically.
You do that?
Just
watching Army movies.
Yeah, Army movies probably. No, just maybe just try to get more serious. You know what I mean? And the way I looked at it was, hey, I'm going to be doing something that's going to change my life. Mm-hmm. Hopefully for the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
that's how I looked at it. And I definitely wanted to soak everything up and learn as much as I could, and try to excel as well. I'm not, before I was definitely not really a people person.
Oh,
but,
okay.
The military and doing the things I do now helped me excel. At that.
So what was not the people person before? What were you dealing with? Just no new friends? Or
no,
what?
just in high school I was very outgoing. I like to joke around, but once you get into the military, you have a different mindset. You get more serious, and then then they like to put you on the spot. Whether it's you place you in a leadership role, and then you have to
right off the start.
Yeah, you got to adjust fire, and you got to take lead and stuff like that. So that's definitely a personal challenge that you have to overcome and excel at.
So you get to your where'd you go to basic training at?
Fort Jackson.
That's where I went to Fort Jackson. Yeah, I went in '89.
89?
Right when they started the new little Hollywood area.
Oh man, I was still in elementary school, man.
Don't say that. Don't say that. So you go. So you at Fort Jackson. I mean, are you in a culture shock?
Not really. It was very humid though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. You used to have these big roaches that would run after you, man. It was like, dang.
And the orange clay.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the orange clay, yeah, man. That wasn't easy digging foxholes either.
Not at all.
Yeah. But it was humid. I mean, I think it was pretty cool. I liked it.
What was it like for you to be in this barracks now with these guys that are from all parts of the country?
You just learn how different we are, I met a guy that was from, I think he was from like Alabama, and it was his first time ever meeting a black guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I was thrown back, everybody was, but
yeah.
It was cool. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's just, you get to see, learn a lot about everybody's life,
mm-hmm.
where they come from, how they're raised and stuff like that. And you definitely learn about brotherhood, because you want to sacrifice for each other to get the mission done, and train hard and do what you can. So it was definitely cool. I try to keep in contact with some people now and then.
Yeah. Have you had you shot a weapon before?
No, I didn't. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was interesting, breaking them down and reassembling them, and it's funny because my nephew, he just joined the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about the gas chamber.
Yeah,
we just went through, and I was just telling my wife, how I remember that day I was sick, and I think I had a
you were sick. You were sick.
I was sick that day, and
I was too. It had rain.
I had like a lung infection.
Oh wow!
So coming out, I was snot everywhere, and it was just like it was horrible, But it cleared up though for a good half a day. Yeah, I was like, hey, this is actually pretty good for you, And after started settling down, and it was just kind of miserable.
So my gas chamber experience, right? So they teach you how to seal the mask and all that. So I'm in line, right, and I'm like almost next to get pulled in, and I didn't trust my mask. So when I breathed out, I could feel the air come out. But I'm sure it was sealed, but I panicked. And so I broke the seal. And as I was sealing it back, he pulled me in. So now I'm standing there, and I'm like I'm taking deep breaths to see if I can smell anything. And I think I can smell something. And then, they make you take it off, and you say your last 4 or whatever. And, man, I bolted out of there. Because as soon as I took that breath, I was like, I'm out of here.
Well, for us, they had us line up, and they wanted you to kind of at least try to maintain your composure, not panic and whatnot. First, they want you to kind of trust the mask and all that.
Right.
But people started kind of like, dashing out. And then the guy in front of me was kind of like stumbling. So they stopped him and kept us there for like another good minute or so. We're over there yakking our life away, trying to get out, panicking and stuff like that. It was just, that's what they do. They want to mess with you.
Exactly.
It's all psychological.
If you see those videos, those are real videos of us coming out of there with snot. And guys running into trees because they can't see. Yeah. A lot of us bolted. Yeah. And I was supposed to go back through there again because I bolted. Yeah. I didn't go back through.
Yeah, that was good. That was fun times, man. Yeah, it was just I miss that stuff.
And then where did you transition to? Well, let's go back to basic. So, we get smoked.
Yeah.
So
I used to eat that stuff up, man. Yeah, PT. I mean, I loved it. Just something about it was just this is for me. You know what I mean? And it's just like I really can't explain it. I don't know if you felt that same way, but it's just like, man, I really enjoy.
So what? So at what point? Because there for me there was like the 3rd week. That I was like, I had this moment of, what am I doing here? Did you have one of those?
Not really. No? We were in the, I want to say like the reception, before you actually get shipped out to your company for basic. It was, things kind of got serious, and then they're like, oh, okay, you guys are leaving today or whatever. Right. So we got on the bus, and, we had all our gear and uniforms packed up in our duffel bags, and just I guess on the ride over there, I was like, let's do this. You know what I mean? I was like ready for it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. They yell at you, yes, but it's for a reason. You know what I mean? It's to mentally get you fit. You know what I mean? And you see people that want to bail and they get scared or whatever and want to go home, and it's unfortunate, but it's part of the job. They want you to get that. I mean, the bigger picture, I think, is to mentally get you tough, or what to expect.
Well,
you might go to war.
That training is what we don't realize at the time. Yeah. That's to help you save your life and your buddy's life. Yeah. And so in the midst of it, it's like crazy. Like what am I doing here? But for me, like about the 3rd week, it became a routine. Yeah. And I was laying in my bunk, like, what am I doing here? And then my mind just clicked. Yeah. And it was like, all right, up at 4:30. Yeah. Exercising, and then breakfast, and it was like routine, and it was like, all right, I'm here.
Yeah, it was a lot of sleepless nights, man, for sure. You get burnt out, because you're doing it, all day long. Yeah. And then you got that downtime for a little bit, and you got to make sure you square away your boots and all that stuff. These soldiers today, I don't think they're shining their boots.
Nah, man, they got tan boots in there.
Yeah, they got that easy life.
Not even, man. Jeez, yeah. 2 fingers on them boots and the little water. Oh, man.
And I was very prideful of the uniform. I used to shine my boots. I would always have my uniform. Pressed, and even in the field, man, you gotta look good in the field.
Yeah, you gotta look good. Dirty boots,
but still, you gotta. It's muscle memory, I guess,
So looking back, now into those basic training, what do you think about that life?
I think everybody should do it. Coming out of high school, I think it should be like a building block for your adulthood. Because there's a lot of kids out there that are don't have that discipline. don't have that drive, and just are kind of soft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that they should join the military to help them out. You know what I mean?
All
If they don't have that tough love at home or whatever. I mean, I think in general, I think it's good for today's youth.
My grandfather the same way. He's like, I think every male especially should take at least 3 years, 2 or 3, 4 years to have that experience. And you get that veteran status. You may get some education paid for out of it, and then you get to pick what you're going to do afterwards.
Pros versus cons. Because there's a lot of guys out there that say, I don't want to join or whatever. Their excuses. But,
right.
I mean, after the fact, like you mentioned, you get to take advantage of, like a VA loan or,
education benefits,
all those good things that go along with it, after your service.
So before I take this first break, where did you go to AIT at? What was your MOS?
Fort Lee.
Yeah. So you was quartermaster.
Then
what, the MOS? What did you do?
92 Yankee.
You was a supply?
Yeah,
I was supply too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Right.
I had three of them. Yeah, I had three MOSs.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, supply was my second one.
It was cold, man. I went there in December, I think. It was snowing.
Yeah. But I went there for POL first, and then I went later to supply. I did supply after that.
Yeah. It was cool. I enjoyed it. It was a co-ed. It felt like college. Because it was
totally different than basic back then. Back then, when I was at basic, the females was like on the way on the other side. Like you would only see them in the mess hall.
Oh, really?
But you couldn't socialize, not even look that way.
Yeah.
But once you get to IT, it's co-ed. Now you're making friends, you're hanging out.
Partying all over again.
Did Petersburg, Richmond.
Some high school flashbacks? No. No, it was good times, though. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
You enjoyed being the log dog?
It was cool. I mean, I did a lot of cool stuff. I was in a special ops unit in active duty. I was with the 101st Infantry Unit. So, I had access to better training than your conventional, quartermaster.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I kind of landed that MOS accidentally.
What do you mean accidentally?
Well, when I went to MEPS, I was like, I was thinking maybe MP, medic, or whatnot, and then my roommate said that I was with, his brother-in-law, I think, was one of the recruiters there at MEPS.
Oh, okay.
And he was telling him about this job, like, hey, you should do this and blah, blah, blah. It's a good job. So I was like, he kind of planted the seed. So I was like, because we're young, we're not really knowledgeable on what's what, so.
And how to ask the right questions.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? And that one came up. So I was like, hey, maybe I should do this, But I had a good times,
Now, supply is a job that you can transition into civilian life because there's a lot of QCs and logistic jobs.
I did a lot. I was in the floor shop, so I did a lot of accounting.
Oh that's for
I did the budget, the requisitions, stuff
that.
The higher level stuff. I wasn't
okay. So this is my guest Tony. We just talked about his before service, and then we talked a little bit about his basic training and AIT experience. We're going to get back to his during service after the break right here. So this is Trench Talk. Go to the Instagram is at Trench Talk US, and on Trench Talk US, trenchtalk.us for the website for more information about the show. Thank you.
The Consortium of Health and Military Performance, also known as CHAMP, of the Uniformed Services University of Health and Science, known as USUHS, is conducting a study to understand a possible genetic link between sickle cell trait, known as SCT, and exercise-related events, known as EREs, such as exertional rhabdomyolysis, muscle damage, heat stroke, and or collapse. We are inviting African American men and women with sickle cell trait and their family members to participate. Participating in the study will require you to complete a health history questionnaire, a form authorizing our study physician to gather health information from you and your healthcare provider, as well as a one-time blood donation. In order to qualify for the study, you must meet the following criteria: be African American, be sickle cell trait positive, be able to read, speak, and understand English, be between the ages of 18 and 80, and currently not being treated for any mental or psychological disorders. Participation is completely voluntary, and your decision will not impact your healthcare. The results for this study are for research purposes only and are not intended to directly benefit any individual for confidentiality reasons. However, the results of this study are intended to help better shape policies and associated health risks affecting the SCT community. Participants may be compensated for their time. To join the study, or if you would like additional information regarding the study, please contact the study team by phone, area code 240-460 479-9514 or email sctstudy-ggg@usuhs.edu.
How would you like to share your military experience with me, Farron Dozier, retired Sergeant First Class, on Trench Talk? That's right, I'm looking for veterans, active members, family members, children of parents who serve, or if you have a resource that helps support veterans, contact me here, 323-215-5384, or visit www.trenchtalk.us and send me a message. And don't forget to go to facebook.com/TrenchTalkUS and like the page and listen to previous. All right, we're back to Trench Talk, the original series. I want to thank you for listening in so far. My guest Tony is here sharing his military experience before service. So now we're into his basic training, the AIT part of his military service. If you want to be a guest, make sure you go to social media, hit me up, and we can talk, chit-chat, and figure out how we can have you here, sitting next to me, live at the studio here at Morris Media Live. So, all right, Tony, so log dog, quartermaster. Where did you end up at your first duty station?
First duty station was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay.
So with the 101st. Actually, my unit was second of the 187th Rocketsons.
Okay.
So it was cool. I mean, it was funny because when we first got there to the reception, everyone's like, "Oh, you don't want to go to this unit, it's it's like hardcore, I guess, or whatever."
Yeah.
Sure enough, I get my orders and it's like, "Hey, you're going to Rocketson." I'm like, "Oh," it's like, ah. But I mean, it was. I think it was for the better. You know what I mean? Because it's an infantry unit. You want to learn those core soldiering skills because they're perishable. You know what I mean? So, and not a lot of people realize that. But you're marksman. You want to keep up on that. Your fitness. All that stuff that you need to have for being a soldier. It was a good experience. And
I always say, because I did supply for an infantry unit in Michigan, Alpha 125, and when you are 11 Bravo and those 11 series, you have to be intelligent. A lot of people think that that's like the bottom end job. To map reading and all that stuff, those guys are intelligent guys, and I think people discount the infantrymen.
They got a hard job too. I mean, you see them; they get beat up in the out in the field. They're doing long missions and exposed to the inclement weather, rain, mud, and but it's good training too. They do a lot of cool stuff. So also it was cool to be able to outshoot a lot of them. So I was like, I'm a log dog, but I'm over here, qualifying expert with the 249 and M16 at the time and all that good stuff. Right. So I was like, that's pretty coul.
What was your challenge? I know when I was doing supply for these infantry guys, all they wanted to do was just blow up stuff and go home. Nobody wanted to keep no accountability. They didn't want to do no inventories.
So they got to pay for it.
Right?
No, I mean, the biggest challenge really, I guess servicing their equipment was the biggest challenge because, they didn't really take care of it too well, so you got to get stuff replaced and whatnot. But, I mean, it was cool to be able to get them what they needed when they needed it. You know what I mean? Whether it's ammo when they're turning on a mission or, the mortarmen. I used to go help, run the ranges and stuff like that too. So, stuff like that.
So you built cool. You felt a sense of belonging because of the responsibilities that they depended on you. Yeah. Especially being a supply.
You want to make sure that you don't let them down. You know what I mean? Because it can transfer over to a real time situation. You know what I mean? Like, my time in Iraq. Same thing. I always, held that. In the front of my mind as far as making sure I get them what they need when they need it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because that stuff saves their lives. You meet a lot of the the log dogs and all that kind of like micromanage stuff like that, and it's just like, why? I mean, maybe is that a sense of power to you? For me, it's like you're letting them down by doing that. You know what I mean? So that's how I felt. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like I said, being in supply with infantrymen, I mean, it was definitely fulfilling because, like you said, and especially with infantry, you're helping them train how they're going to fight, and a lot of people don't understand that how important that training is. That you're going to train. I mean, you have to practice and train how you're going to fight for that real time scenario. So if you're not having, if you're messing around, in your accountability or whatever, that's going to impact them down the line, because during that war they started attacking the convoys, and the mechanics. Yeah. During that point, that's
all
where
the
I came in.
Support elements, right?
Yeah, that's when I came in, and we were training our soldiers and Iraqi soldiers to survive those convoys. Yeah. So, very important that training. You know, a lot of people don't think, but the bad thing. Well, not I want to say the bad thing, but for me, it was like joining at 19, right, as a young guy, and then having the mentality that once your brain clicks over to that soldier, you know. I cut off feelings and emotions.
Yeah, that's true.
Things.
I mean,
what did you feel?
I experienced that too. I mean, it's like, I was married before, and I think one of those big things was, my emotions, and, showing my emotions and whatnot. I mean, it's still a struggle today,
of course.
Because when you're training to become a soldier, you're kind of like psychologically preparing yourself for worst case scenarios. You know what I mean? And for me, before I deployed to Iraq was like, you got to like shut off your feelings, you know what I mean? Because you might be in a situation where, somebody might be dying or whatnot, and you have to be able to keep driving on, you know what I mean? So that was a big challenge for me. I think that was the downside for my military service, is that it changed me as a person in my younger years, where I was more outgoing, and, I always used to joke around, kind of like how my son is now, But, it made me more serious, and that's the only thing that I feel that was the downside to being in the service.
Yeah. So. I like I said, when I was, in 89, 90s, it was like, you can't be worried about where your wife or your girlfriend is doing when you're doing this training, because that 1 second of you daydreaming of where's she at, then that could be that second that you take a round, or your buddy takes a round. So, at that young age, it's like you take that stuff serious, and I bought in. Yeah. Like I bought in to all of it, because I realized, like I said, when my brain clicked over, it was like, all right, this is it. Like, so
it's hard to readjust, though. I think you got to kind of like take a step back and kind of reevaluate how you're thinking and stuff like that to be able to adjust. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of veterans these days they find a tough time to readjust to civilian life, and getting back to their family and their relationships that they left for a year or however long they were deployed or whatnot. So that was a tough time. You know what I mean? So
let's go there. This is part of during your service. So the war happened. So you've been training with these. Did you go to war with the same?
No, I went to Iraq in 2004, 2005 with the Civil Affairs Unit. Okay. So it was a special ops unit. So what was good about it is that we had access to better equipment, better training. We carried 2 weapons. Mm-hmm. In my case, I carried 3 because I was a gunner. Okay. I carried the saw, but I had an M4 and a sidearm. Mm-hmm. So, we did reflexive fire training and stuff like that at Fort Bragg, and did all kinds of other training prior to going downrange, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, which was, it's good, and that's what I like to soak up all that stuff, because, that's going to save your life in a real-time situation, and, help your buddies, be able to absorb that training and take it with them as well. So yeah, that's how I was up in the northern Iraq. We were stationed out of Mosul, and but we operated in the Kurdistan region of it's called the Hook. Okay. So that's where like a lot of the Peshmergas were based out of and stuff like that. Those guys are the ones that kind of helped our forces regain control after ISIS took over Iraq, pretty much. Right. But it was a good experience, man. I mean, I really missed the people, the culture. They had great food there, man. It was pretty awesome. It was cool to be able to go out and into the marketplaces and kind of like see how they live and whatnot, and like firsthand knowledge of how. Because most of the regular soldiers are confined to a base. They only come in and out for missions. Exactly. They don't really they don't get to commingle with the populace and see how what their life is, what their experience at the time, because it's a war-torn country, Of course. A lot of things you do regret is, running water, stuff like that. Just, soap, just all those, amenities that you're used to here. Exactly.
We take advantage of here.
Yeah, for sure. Electricity was a big thing, man. Only ran for so many hours a day. You're like, oh my God, So stuff like that, I really miss. Once in a while, I'll still keep in contact with some of the guys from Iraq, the Iraqis. Yeah. They speak broken English. They'll message me on Facebook. So it's like it's a brief conversation. You know what I mean? So yeah. I remember a little bit of the language, but just the basic stuff to say. How you doing or whatever. So.
What's your most memorable moment there?
Memorable. Just some of the missions we did. We did a lot of convoying. So I was a gunner on the Humvee, just going to and from Mosul back to our area of operation. Working with some of the different groups. I became pretty good friends with one of the special forces Iraqi guys. Mm-hmm. He was a younger guy. He was pretty young, but he used to fight for the PKK. They were considered like a terrorist organization at one point, but then he became a Peshmerga. Yeah. But just, learning their culture and stuff like that, I think that was very memorable. I think kind of helped me get through the deployment.
Yeah.
My roommate, a lot of my colleagues and stuff like that, it was a good time. My roommate, he actually got killed in Afghanistan in 2009. So,
no kidding.
Yeah, I became good friends with him while we were roommates there because we lived with each other for, the whole year that we were there. So it sucked, man, because he was very squared away, He was able to be the team NCO and the officer at the same time. He was kind of like a dual role because he was that squared away, you know what I mean? For some reason, I can't remember what happened, why he landed that spot. But it was just hard to swallow, man. For me, it was tough, man, to be honest with you. I was like, damn, to see him pass away. And I try to be there for his family. I still... The organization that helped out his family is called Honoring Our Fallen.
Okay.
And every year I do a toy drive for them.
Okay.
And I give them toys for their... What they do is they take those toys and they give them to soldiers who have lost their lives, to their kids. It's a pretty good organization. They're out of Orange County. So, once a year I'll team up with the local Nissan dealership and we'll gather a bunch of toys and we'll take it to them and stuff like that. So
definitely.
I try to do stuff like that, kind of to give back. It's kind of, for me, it's a way for me to give back to a good cause, especially since they helped out, my friend that lost his life, and but there was another tough time too because during my deployment, my cousin and my brother-in-law passed away. One died of cancer, and the other one died suddenly of like liver and kidney failure.
So how did you deal with that? Because I was at a training facility when my grandmother passed away, and I got the Red Cross message. So how did you deal with that, losing your family?
I didn't. It kind of affected me because I kind of lost focus for a little while. Mm-hmm. It does. You try to block it out, but you still think about it. And I didn't come back for their funerals because I just didn't want to remember him that way, passing away. My brother-in-law, he had cancer, then he went into like remission. And then just before I deployed, we had like a gathering at my mom's house. Yeah. And it was weird for me. He gave me this look like, hey, I want to tell you something, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think he was trying to tell me that he was, he was sick still, Yeah. And I'll never forget the look in his face. That was something I'll never forget. But, that's what happened, man. I just try to...
so that's my water.
That's all right. So, I just try to adjust fire and focus and get back home.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that,
yeah.
And especially for your roommate, your friend that passed. So, you say you did 8 years and some change. I mean, at some point, when you're that far in the game of that career, how did you decide that I'm only going to do this amount of time? Like, what was the out?
The deciding factor is actually when I came home on leave. I spent time with my son. I think I came back for his birthday, and he was maybe 4 at the time, maybe, and around 4 or 5. Anyhow, I think when they were taking me back to the airport. I was spending time with him, and he had the biggest smile, and he thought he was going to go with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going with you? And I had to tell him, no, you're not,
Yeah.
And just the look on his face is just like, I can't do this, because it's like, it's tough on a family more so.
Yeah.
Because you're out there, you're deployed, you're focusing on the mission.
Of course.
Maybe you also have a good time because you're there with your battle buddies and, fighting the fight with them, what I mean? So it's definitely an awesome experience that you're going through. But at the same time, it's a hardship for your family. And, you kind of tend to lose focus from that.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was my deciding factor. Hey, it's not going to be something that I could keep doing. Especially if you have a family. To me, kudos to those soldiers out there that are fighting the fight and have kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? and are be able to sustain that family. You know what I mean? But for me, I've just felt like, hey, I don't think this is something I could carry on. You know what I mean? So that was the deciding factor.
That smile,
yeah,
it was smile right there.
Yeah, that one right there.
So you made the choice. Did they try to have you? Did they try to keep you, or did they like, all right, after your enlistment was done, you was free to go?
I just got pinned my E6. It was cool because the area commander, the commanding general, he pinned me in the combat zone, which is cool. You don't often get promoted by a general, and then you don't often get promoted in theater by a commanding general either. Yeah. So it was pretty cool, So I just I enjoyed all that stuff, man. I miss it.
But by the way, by the way, I'm going home.
Yeah, by the way, this is it for me. Once I get back, I'm going to ETS. Get out. So that's that.
Okay. So let's talk about your after service because you're doing a lot. I know today.
It's been pretty busy, yeah.
But how was your transition from those 8 years plus, and then dealing with your whatever mental and your injuries or whatever your body was dealing with? How did you transition out of the service?
It was challenging at first. I used to hate to go into public places. It was kind of weird. I had to adjust. Because I think, say I would go to the Ontario Mills Mall or whatever, and I would just constantly be looking at everybody's hands. Seeing, because you're into that mode.
Still,
you're still in that mode, and you're kind of trying to shake out of it. But
yeah.
But, it was an adjustment. Then I got a job. I did financing for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. I started a business maybe 2015. So I've been doing it for about 3 years. Yeah. And I try to incorporate my family into it. So, which is cool. We do things together, and, when I do some shows and stuff like that. And what's cool is that, it helped me, get my people skills back and, be able to talk in an audience and, be able to talk about things like this, like what we're doing today. Yeah, it helped me out a lot. So I think I think things happen for a reason. You know what I mean? So it gave me an opportunity to kind of, I guess, mend the things that were I was struggling with when I came back. Yeah. So
now I know for myself, I spent 24 years in the military, and on my exit, I was depressed because I had experienced the exertion from sickle cell trait. Yeah. I was at my Master Sergeant Academy when I collapsed, so I had some stuff. I wasn't done. Yeah. But the military found me not fit for service, and they did what they did with the medical board. Yeah. But I made that mean my life was over. So, for those years that I said I served and did that, I felt like how could they? Like, I seen worse injuries for people to stay in. But there was a point where, coming out of my depression and dealing with my anxiety, that I was like, when I started peeling off these layers of the military, I saw that, man, the military gave me some of the things that I was missing even before I joined. Yeah. Right? So that sense of belonging and things like that you may not be, that you think you're not getting from your environment, from your family members, that you find it in the service. And that's the kind of things that we gravitate to, the brotherhood. Yeah. Because every human being, I think, wants to be included in something.
Yeah, that's true. Sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging, right? So when you transition out of the service, did you miss the brotherhood? Like, what was your,
for
what
sure.
Your,
I mean,
what
that's
was
something.
Your miss?
Yeah, that was something that you missed dearly. For me, I mean, I think for me initially, what was the biggest shell shock is that, hey, I'm out here doing something important. Yeah. For another country and other people's lives, and then you come back to civilian world, and it's just like it stops. So you hit this wall. Yeah, and you're kind of like, whoa, it's kind of weird to adjust because you find yourself doing something great, not only for maybe other people that you might be helping out, in another country, but also that brotherhood, and then you come back to civilian life, and it's kind of stagnant. You know what I mean? So it's definitely an adjustment that you have to overcome. And there's a lot of soldiers. I'm pretty sure that's why they're suffering from depression and whatnot, because it's that adjustment, what I mean, to find that belonging and whatnot. And it's definitely a challenge. I met, working with people, I've met other veterans that kind of struggle with the same stuff. And, I remember one time I met this one veteran. He was, I think he was in the Marines, and he said that he had got ambushed in Afghanistan, and his car got hit by an RPG, and he got flown in the air. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about it, and he started breaking down and crying.
Yeah.
And immediately I had to comfort him, like, hey, I know your pain, and call me if you ever need anything, because, it's a challenge, you got to really pull it together, and, you're not alone, because for a while I went to the VA and we did some of those, like, I guess classes where you talk to other veterans and share experiences and whatnot. And I was probably the youngest guy there because most of them were Vietnam veterans.
Right,
and,
exactly.
There's a connection, but not that close of a connection because it's a different generation.
Yeah.
Different war and whatnot. So I just did it for a little while, and then I felt like, hey, man, I should really get involved and try to help other veterans too, which I commend you for what you're doing, because you're able to bring people on this show and let them kind of give them an outlet, talk about their experiences and their challenges, and it's kind of like a small step to recovery, you know what I mean? In a sense, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. And so, we met through these Nissan Zs. So when did you become a fan of the Nissan Z, man?
My sister had one, and we used to trade cars here and there, and I was like, hey, I need to give me one of these. So, I had an Acura TSX at the time, which I still had. I just recently got rid of it. It was for my son, but we got him another car.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a Nissan, which is sitting outside right now.
We'll talk about that later.
Anyhow, so yeah, man, it's just the type of community, in the car scene. What I liked about the Z cars is that you meet people that are older, that are younger, that are in between, and they all have the same passion. You know what I mean? So when I first started getting into it, it was like, I think end of 2014, 2015. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But I felt a connection, like it was kind of like the military. Hey, you got this brotherhood of people that, enjoy being together. And so we used to do, canyon runs and all that stuff. And then I started hosting shows, and, now we're just doing a lot of stuff, networking with businesses. Tomorrow I'm doing some marketing video shoots tomorrow with 2 different businesses. I got a couple more scheduled. I'll be at SEMA this week on Thursday. Yeah. Coming back Friday. It's a busy week, man. My niece is getting married on Friday, so I'm driving back to Vegas, then heading all the way to Orange County. So it's going to be a long day, but it's pretty interesting. Yeah. So that's my niece that I met through my reconnected brother recently.
Yeah. So we're going to definitely touch on that because, as you mentioned, that your dad was a Vietnam veteran.
Correct. Yeah.
And served in combat there. And so how did this, long lost brother? How did that surface?
I should have brought my dad.
No. Where you at?
No. But no, it was a interesting story.
Okay.
I mean, really, his story is very profound, man. You could make a movie out of it. But my brother, which his name is Tom Nguyen or Nguyen, however they say it.
Yeah.
But he's Vietnamese, so my dad met his mom in Vietnam in '68, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyhow, he never knew about us. But what's crazy is that his daughter, she's, I think, in her late 20s. She reached out to one of my cousins that they both took that 23andMe DNA test.
Oh, yeah. No way.
Yeah, so it's crazy, man. And, my cousin reached out to me. Hey, she was asking when was your dad in Vietnam and all this stuff. And everything just lined up. It was crazy. And I felt compelled to dig deeper and find out the answers because, learning about this man, he's like 49 now.
Yeah.
It was just, I felt like we owed him, that to learn the truth.
Connect to us.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, she took that DNA test, and my cousin hit me up and said, hey,
wow.
This girl's saying that she could be related to us, and, she asked, hey, do you have an uncle or a grandfather that was in Vietnam at this time,
wow.
And I told my cousin, hey, that sounds like my dad could be, it's like, hey, this is kind of serious here.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's crazy. So, I hit up my dad and I said, hey, did you talk to anybody over there in Vietnam, and that was a different time.
Of course.
So he said, well, yeah. I'm like, well, come on, man, you got to tell us about this stuff, But anyhow, long story short, I was asking her, hey, like probing questions, like, hey, where was he? Because he didn't know his mom either. He got separated from his mom at an early age. Yeah. And so what happened is that I was asking, hey, where do you think he's from? And, the area that he was telling me was really close to where my dad was stationed.
Wow.
I think my dad was in Bong Song. I think is that the name of the base. But he was in a town right next to it.
Right next to it.
Yeah, so I was tripping out. So I was like, hey, I'll take the DNA test, and you have your dad take the DNA test, and sure enough, once I got my results, it said, hey, you're connected to her too.
Come on.
At a higher percentage than my cousin, which shows that she shows her as a closer relative. And then when I got his results back, he was even greater
than yours.
No, our DNA match was greater than my grandfather's and my uncle that took the test. So I was like, and it tells you the percentage, whether they're your cousin.
Yeah.
And it says, sibling. So
it said sibling on there.
So we were reunited. You know what's the craziest part about it? So let me tell you his life story.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, you got a few minutes, yeah.
Oh, okay. So basically, he was separated. Like, his mom left him with some lady to babysit him. And, he never heard from his mom then. So he lived with this lady. And I guess some people told him that his mom went looking for him. And, but the lady would move him. Kind of like to hide him from his mom.
No.
Yeah. So, at a young age, he was kind of like he became an orphan. He didn't know his mom, he didn't know his dad, and he was discriminated because people felt that, hey, he was, not fully Vietnamese.
Right.
So they discriminated him and, treated him differently. So, then the lady that he was with, they became homeless for a short period of time, and he was telling us that he used to panhandle, and, he would, the lady would beat him if he would go get food or whatever, and not bring back the money. And then he had got injured. One of the buildings that he was in got bombed, and he lost his hearing. The building collapsed. He lost 50% of his hearing, so he has hard of hearing in one ear. And he went through all these tough times. He was forced to live in an encampment because a lot of the people that were homeless, they wanted to clean up the homelessness, and they moved him into a camp inside the jungle. So he said he remembers oil lanterns, all this crazy stuff. And then I think he said in '97. He knew that he met this girl that she was going to go to the the U.S. consulate or something like that to interview to get her a visa, to come to the U.S. So he's like, well, let me go with you. So he went with her, and he introduced himself to the guy that was there. He was an American, but he spoke Vietnamese. So he submitted his paperwork, and he got approved. He came back. They flew, I guess, a church in Westminster. Sponsored it. So he came to, I guess he said he went to the Philippines for a little while, and then to San Francisco to I guess to adjust. They teach him classes to, the culture. You got to learn the culture and all that. And long story short, he landed in Westminster, So at the time, my dad was from New Mexico. So he was there, and then he followed my mom here to California. And then, so in '97, Tom came to Westminster, and then about a year and a half, he moved to Riverside.
No way.
So my dad lives in Colton, which is a city next to Riverside.
I know, yeah.
And I think it's just kind of like fate, fate brought us together. So, we learned all that stuff, and, he's good to my kids. He has a good family.
How does that make you feel after all these years to have a brother?
It feels good, I have another brother. He's my half brother as well. But just to find that, for me, I think the most exciting part about it is that we're able to give this guy Tom closure. You know what I mean? He didn't know his mom or his dad, and he lived a tough life. You know what I mean? And soldiers out there that do that kind of stuff, that they don't realize that
happens a lot.
That happens a lot, but they don't realize the repercussion of what happens. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And it's
some countries don't like us because of that. Those very reasons.
I would imagine that was Vietnam too.
What our soldiers left behind.
But it's he's a great man. You know what I mean? And I'm glad he's a part of our lives.
Cool deal.
His daughter's getting married this Friday, so we're going to go to her wedding. He went to my wedding. I just got remarried in August, August 26th, and he went to our wedding. So it was pretty neat, man.
So what do you want to say, man? Well, first of all, now that we've talked about your before, during, and after service, what do you reflect on when you hear your story, bringing these conversations out? What is your experience?
It's therapeutic, man. I like the camaraderie of sharing past times with other fellow veterans and their experiences. I think it builds it solidifies relationships too. Like a lot of the guys I know in the car scene that are veterans, we I think it brings us a little bit more closer. You know what I mean? I just had a friend that's a veteran. He lost his 2-year-old son, 2.5-year-old son, suddenly. You know, and I felt compelled to help him and his family, no matter what. You know, and I was able to raise a little bit of money, you know, to help with the final expenses. And you know, I don't expect anything in return. I just, to me, he's, you know, not only a brother in arms, but you know, he's a fellow enthusiast. You know, and I felt that it's the right thing to do, man. You know, when I run into veterans, you know, about 95, you know, almost 100% of the time, it's always a good experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I mean, we have an instant connection when you say, you know? And it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm in an MC right now, my second one, and it's like, you know, we got a Vietnam veteran, we got all these different age groups, and it's like, it's an instant connection.
Yes, it
is.
is.
It doesn't matter if you're Army and Marine, if you're Army and Coast Guard, like it's an automatic. That brotherhood just never.
That's
goes
how
away.
I feel the same way. It's definitely a connection, instant connection. I agree with you 100%.
And I can relate to you because so after all of my military experience, you know, and now I advocate for this community with sickle cell trait is like I bring all my military learning skills to now this community of how to advocate and what kind of person I need to be and the responsibility and just how we learn all those tools in the military, the tactics, just all that stuff. That now I use that toward this.
Jump right in, right?
Right in, And it's like one of my soldiers committed suicide, and I was there for his family like the next day, and just being able to be a part of that family and help support that.
How old was he?
Oh, he was like in his 30s, late 40s.
It's tough, man. You know, there's a lot of soldiers out there that, you know, suffer from depression.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the only thing I could say, if the ones that are out there listening, is that, you know, reach out to your buddies, man. You know, like pick up the phone, call us. You got a number here, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And
just call in and talk to us,
and so I think what you're doing as far as using your SoCal Z, your club, to also provide and give back to veterans. I mean, I think that's a huge service in return. So
it's I think as a veteran, you know, we all should be that way. You know what I mean? To try to reach back, so, you know, whether it's small or big, you know.
Yeah.
Try to find a way to give back to your fellow brothers and sisters in arms. You know what I mean? You're right though, man. Anytime I run into a veteran, you know, there's that instant connection, and you know, you want to make sure that you take care of each other, because people, you know, I have some veteran buddies that lose track of that. You know, they're kind of just go their own ways and, you know, live life differently. You know what I mean? But for me, I think it's important to be involved. You know what I mean? There's a lot of other veterans out there that struggle with employment, you know, depression.
Yeah. I think what I've like I said, I've been doing this conversation for a few years. A lot of times, like I said, when I realized I peeled off some of my layers of the military, it's like there's stuff that you go back to. Like once you get out of that brotherhood or that service, your mindset goes back to the past of where you came from. And a lot of people go back to being homeless. They go back because that's where they were comfortable at, or that's where their survival mode takes them. And so I think, you know, being able to address that and deal with that and fight and figure out what it is that you're missing, and then implement that, gives you a whole nother life, man. And that's true. That's what I think is that can help. Yeah. Like I said, I use this work right here to manage mine.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing here is phenomenal, man. I mean, I think you know, it helps give somebody a platform to come out here and talk. You know, some of the issues that, you know, we're discussing today, you know, they are able to address those. You know, they might have some similar issues.
Yeah, we all got our version. We all have our that's why I said human beings, we all have our own version of it. Life experience is the same. It's just how you respond to it, how I respond to it, and that makes us, you know, unique but also similar and related. So before I let you go, what do you want to say to the soldiers that are the teenagers that are coming up, or they thinking about joining the service? Like, what do you recommend?
I say you got one life to live. Do it, man. You know, get out there and experience, you know, a different environment. You know, don't be scared for a change. You know, a life experience change. You know, there's a lot of perks to it. You know, you get to travel. Just like I said, my nephew just graduated from the Air Force. He got his first duty assignment. He's going to be going to, he said the UK, so I'm not sure what air base is out there. So, And, young kid, lived in his mom, single mom, going from, the struggles of that what comes with that, going to the Air Force and, going to be traveling all over the world.
Exactly.
That's cool. I hope my son decides to do something like that too. But, I want him to get a little bit of education under his belt too,
Yeah. And I say, like you said earlier, before we get out of here, is that I recommend that everyone should at least do a minimum amount of time and get that experience. I look back, would I do 24 years again? Probably not. I probably would do my 4 to 8 years, get that education out of the way, and then figure out what I want to create from life after that. So unless you want to be a lifer and do a career out of it, that's fine. But then there's so much access that you can create and get from that as a stepping stone.
Or if you could accomplish schooling first, I would say do that, because you could enlist as an officer. Yeah. There's more pay to that, which is...
Yeah, exactly.
It's always an incentive for people, right?
Yeah,
more money.
You got to figure out your path.
But, you can't beat the experience, though. I mean, I think overall it's a good experience, man. I miss it all the time, and I
still miss it. Still miss it.
Yeah, I miss it, man. I can't really say much else that I miss it, man. It's just like, it was a big life experience that it's hard to let go. You know what I mean? And you learn a lot from it. I think it helps you grow as a person, as a husband, a father, all those things that, you need to succeed in life. It helps you overcome those.
And that mental toughness is important.
And the mental toughness,
mental toughness is important.
Today's youth doesn't have that, though, man.
I know.
I struggle with that.
I know, man. It's tough.
They fold under pressure.
It's the military. Man, thank you for taking your time out of your day, man, and coming out here.
I'll be hosting a veterans cruise pretty soon. So
really?
That's been in the works. So.
All right, so I'm going to have to pull my Z.
Yeah, man, come out. We'll maybe swing by a brewery and grab some beers. I mean, I don't advocate drinking and driving, but I mean,
yeah.
One beer should be good, but
Uber or something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening in. This is Trench Talk. I want to thank you. My name is Farron, aka WDC, retired Sergeant First Class. Stay tuned. Twitter, Instagram is at IMWDC. Also for the Trench Talk show, it is Trench Talk US. Also on Facebook, Trench Talk US. More episodes coming soon. Thank you. I'd like to share your military experience with me, Farron Dozier, retired Sergeant First Class, on Trench Talk. That's right, I'm looking for veterans, active members, family members, children of parents who serve, or if you have a resource that helps support veterans, contact me here, 323-215-5384, or visit www.trenchtalk.us and send me a message. And don't forget to go to facebook.com/Trench Talk US and like the page and listen to previous.
The Consortium of Health and Military Performance, also known as CHAMP, of the Uniformed Services University of Health and Science, known as USUHS, is conducting a study to understand a possible genetic link between sickle cell trait, known as SCT, and exercise-related events, known as EREs, such as exertional rhabdomyolysis, muscle damage, heat stroke, and or collapse. We are inviting African American men and women with sickle cell trait and their family members to participate. Participating in the study will require you to complete a health history questionnaire, a form authorizing our study physician to gather health information from you and your healthcare provider, as well as a one-time blood donation. In order to qualify for the study, you must meet the following criteria: be African American, be sickle cell trait positive, be able to read, speak, and understand English, be between the ages of 18 and 80, and currently not being treated for any mental or psychological disorders. Participation is completely voluntary, and your decision will not impact your healthcare. The results for this study are for research purposes only and are not intended to directly benefit any individual for confidentiality reasons. However, the results of this study are intended to help better shape policies and associated health risks affecting the SCT community. Participants may be compensated for their time. To join the study, or if you would like additional information regarding the study, please contact the study team by phone, area code 240-479-9514, or email sctstudy-ggg@usuhs.edu.